Senator Bernie Sanders also spoke last night, and in his speech and during a Q&A session, he tried to explain why so many people voted for Donald Trump.
All across this country, there are millions and millions of decent, good people who are frightened about the world that they are living in. That is the reality that Mr. Trump perceived to be true. And he said, I hear you are hurting. And I hear and understand you're worried about the future for your kids. And I alone can do something about it. And people voted for him. Let us be clear. There are people in America who are racists. There are people in America who are sexists, who are homophobes, who saw in the very ugly remarks made by Mr. Trump somebody who they felt comfortable with. But let me also say, I believe that those people are a very small minority of the people who voted for Mr. Trump. I think a lot of people gave up on the Democratic Party in terms of standing up for working people, and they said, okay, I'm going to go with this guy. But let me also say, and we should not forget this, that Trump enters the White House as the least popular person in this position in the history of this country. So don't think that everybody agrees with his sexist remarks, his attacks on women, his racist remarks. That would not be the case. I think there are a lot of people out of desperation saying, I'm hurting, I'm in pain, I am worried about my kids. This guy says he's going to do something for me, I'm going to give him a shot. When he comes up with ideas that make sense for working people, I think we should be working with him. When he is racist and sexist and homophobe and Islamophobe, I think we are going to be vigorously in opposition. Ordinary people have got to know that the Democratic Party has the guts to stand up to some very powerful people today whose greed is destroying the middle class and working class of this country. And if we can't do that, I don't see much of a future for the Democratic Party.
Just following up on Sanders' thought there about racism and sexism, I guess it's worth saying, not completely highlighting, that nothing like that has been done since the campaign stopped. So everyone watches, and I think we have to, for the good of the country, we have to press reset. Having said that, that Bernie Sanders, Mark Halperin, that's the same guy in the primary. That's the same guy every step of the way. That was the guy that during the primary, I got kind of laughed at, but I thought could win. But for some reason, he was never considered okay in polite society.
Yeah, I mean, on your first point, the appointment of Bannon, some people have seen as
racist and sexist.
Yeah, so that's an action.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
being seized on a significant. I think that Bernie Sanders has been very Bernie-esque in the way he's handled this, which is he's showing some loyalty to Hillary Clinton, but he's mostly saying what he thinks, which is basically, I would have won, and she lost in part because she was too close to Wall Street. And I think as people start to unpack everything she did, people talk about the server, and I think that was clearly a huge political problem, particularly because of Comey's role. But her speeches and her fundraising, she spent so much of the summer and into the fall going to fundraisers. And I think Sanders points that both symbolically and practically as a big part of why he thinks she lost.
And the speeches, taking, $200,000. I mean, we don't know if we're talking about Rudy Giuliani or Hillary Clinton here.
But that's not why she lost.
Oh, Mike, I got to tell you, I think the server and the speeches, which I remember saying early on, and to deaf ears, had a huge impact on the little guy who would hear this stuff and go, and I say the little guy, most Americans at this point, were like, that doesn't, how does that jive?
It reaffirmed the choice that, look, ultimately this was a change election, and she represented the status quo, and people wanted change. But I think the Democrats, who are also in transition here, have wandered into a bit of a cul-de-sac. So when you hear Bernie Sanders and you hear Harry Reid on the floor sort of intimate that, Donald Trump's supporters have this racist or misogynist element. Is he talking about the same voters that they lost in
Right.
eastern Ohio, in Michigan, in
Not.
Wisconsin,
Yeah.
or Pennsylvania? And it seems to me, if you want to attract this working class back, calling them misogynist and racist is not a very good
Well,
start.
I actually think what Bernie Sanders said there was something different. He said, that they've been accused of being racist and misogynist. He said, I think that's actually a small minority of
Right.
the Trump voter, which I
Right.
thought was pretty remarkable because it contradicts everything we've heard from Democrats and from the left in the last 8 days that racists pushed Donald Trump to the White House. Bernie Sanders effectively last night said that's not true.
So, Mike, let me challenge you. How could the server story and how could the speeches, Hillary Clinton making hundreds of thousands of dollars, Bill Clinton making $1 million while she was Secretary of State from a foreign country for 4 15-minute meetings, why do you think that didn't resonate? I don't understand.
I didn't say it didn't resonate. I think it did, but I think it was only a part of the reason why she lost. I think the biggest reason that she lost was you cannot campaign for President of the United States basically on the theme of it's my turn. And I think that's what a lot of people took from her candidacy. It's my turn.
But it's intermingled because it's my turn means it doesn't matter if I make millions from Wall Street and state institutions. It doesn't matter because it's my turn. It doesn't matter if perhaps I get my own server and I do my own thing and get things going on the side and help Bill out. It's my turn. It doesn't matter at all. It's related.
I know, but that's been part and parcel of the Clinton modus operandi for 30 years. That we know we've done this, but we're in it for the greater good. Trust us. That's just the way it's been, don't you think?
Well, Bernie Sanders made your point last night in that same event. He said the mistake we made is anointing a candidate.
Yeah.
He said it's bad for democracy. It's not the way we should run. We should have a debate over ideas and see who wins in the end. And he said he hopes that's the lesson Democrats take away from this presidential campaign. Don't anoint someone at the beginning. Have a bunch of candidates. Have a primary. Have a
Yeah,
debate.
they
and
were
then
so
choose the
busy
president.
sucking up to Hillary Clinton.
Bernie Sanders in Congress for decades was a gadfly, right? He would go on cable TV. He would stand on the floor. Does he now want to be more than a commentator and a gadfly? Does he want to actually shape the future of the party and the country through hard work? I think that remains to
We
be
need
seen.
honesty.